ever stop to think about the silent battles being fought to keep a country safe? You know, the unseen efforts,
Hmm.
the work to ward off threats before they even really take shape. It's quite a world operating just out of sight.
It really is.
Today, we're kind of venturing into that realm. Specifically within Poland, we're doing a deep dive into the Internal Security Agency, the ABW, based on these documents you shared.
Right.
And we're not talking about, dry government reports here. This is about understanding the real nuts and bolts of how a nation protects itself internally.
Absolutely. And the material you provided, it gives us a really comprehensive look under the hood of the ABW, I think.
Yeah.
We've got this overview document outlining its history, the massive scope of its responsibilities,
Okay.
but also some compelling reports that highlight moments where the ABW's actions kind of spilled into the public conversation.
Okay.
So our mission today really is to connect those dots, to understand not just what the ABW is, but what it does in practice, how it's structured, to achieve its goals, and maybe explore some of those instances that give us a clearer picture of its role within Poland.
Okay, sounds good. So to get a handle on this, let's maybe start at the beginning. Our sources tell us the ABW officially came into being on June 29th, 2002.
That's a date, yeah.
But this wasn't like a completely fresh start, was it? It sort of evolved from something else.
That's right. The ABW is the successor to the Erzad Okręgi Poczosła, or UOP.
UOP, right.
And the really crucial development was the decision back then to split the UOP into two distinct agencies.
Ah, okay.
So this created the ABW, which took on the crucial task of domestic intelligence and security.
Inside Poland.
Inside Poland, exactly. While the Agencja Bezpieczeństwa, the AEW, was set up to focus on intelligence gathering outside Poland's borders.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty common division, really. It's logical. Allows for specialization in these very different but, equally important areas.
Inward focus, outward focus. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, where does this central agency actually operate from? Sounds like they have a pretty significant footprint in Warsaw.
They do. Their headquarters are in the Mokotów district of Warsaw on Olrakowica.
Okay.
And what's kind of interesting is its location. It's quite close to Mokotów Prison and the Ministry of Interior and Administration.
Oh, interesting. So potentially easy coordination.
You'd imagine it facilitates, a degree of sort of seamless communication and coordination between these key bits of Poland's security setup.
Right.
We also know from the docs that the acting head is Colonel Rufus Sirysko. He's got two deputies, Colonels Bernard Bogusowski and Mikosz Roguski.
Okay.
And this kind of hierarchical structure, it really underscores the disciplined, almost sort of military-like nature of the organization, I think.
And an organization with this kind of, nationwide responsibility must have considerable resources behind it.
Definitely.
The documents show an annual budget, what was it, 710,356,000 ZU for 2023?
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a significant investment in internal security. It's clearly a function the Polish state takes very seriously, especially given its designation as one of the country's special services. What exactly does that label imply?
Well, special service isn't just a formal title. It signifies that the ABW operates under specific legal frameworks, ones that grant it unique authorities and a certain level of operational autonomy compared to regular law enforcement.
Right, different roles.
Kind of. It lets them conduct intelligence gathering and, crucially, preventative actions against threats that might not be immediately obvious or easily handled through standard policing. Think of it as recognizing that safeguarding national security sometimes needs tools and maybe a level of discretion beyond the norm.
Okay, so with those tools, what exactly is the ABW tasked with doing? The core mission is stated as analyzing, reporting, and preventing threats to Poland's internal security. That sounds quite broad. What kind of threats are we really talking about here?
It is broad. It's a really far-reaching mandate. Naturally, it includes countering terrorism and foreign espionage, the classic intelligence threat.
Sure, the spy stuff.
Exactly. But the ABW is also responsible for tackling issues like arms smuggling, drug trafficking, organized crime, corruption, and even something termed economic coercion.
Economic coercion, that's interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It highlights this understanding that national security isn't just about physical threats anymore. Economic stability, independence,
Yeah.
they're seen as vital too.
Right, and to confront such a diverse range of threats, their capabilities must go beyond just gathering information, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the sources mention powers of arrest, conducting searches, even a specialized armed anti-terrorist unit. That sounds like they can take direct action.
Precisely. While intelligence gathering and analysis are, foundational, the ABW isn't solely an information agency. They absolutely have the authority to intervene directly when threats pop up or when preventative action is needed. And the existence of that specialized anti-terrorist force, it just underscores their readiness to deal with really high-stakes immediate dangers.
Okay.
But it's not just about those, high-profile interventions. They also do crucial behind-the-scenes work in domestic counterintelligence, trying to spot and neutralize potential threats brewing within Poland itself.
Now, with an agency wielding this kind of power, I mean, it's natural to wonder about oversight, isn't it?
Crucial question. Absolutely.
It can't just operate completely unchecked, surely. What mechanisms are in place to ensure accountability?
Yeah, absolutely crucial. And the documents detail a multi-layered oversight system. At the top, the Prime Minister of Poland has direct responsibility for overseeing the ABW.
Direct PM oversight.
Yes, though this responsibility can be delegated to a specific minister within the Prime Minister's Chancellery.
Okay.
The head of the ABW reports directly to this level of government on all significant security matters. So there's a clear chain of command to the executive.
So the executive branch is heavily involved in keeping tabs on them. What about the process for appointing the leadership? Is that also subject to some scrutiny?
It is. While it's the Prime Minister who proposes candidates for the top job at the ABW, the President of Poland also has a formal role. They offer an opinion on these nominations.
Ah, so a bit of a check there, too.
Adds another layer of high-level consideration, to who gets to lead this very sensitive agency. And furthermore, the President also has the independent authority to request information directly from the head of the ABW if there are pressing security concerns they need answers on.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a system of checks within the executive branch itself. What about the other branches? Does the judiciary or the legislature play a role in oversight?
Yes, they do. The legal basis for the ABW's operations is closely tied to the Public Prosecutor General.
The top prosecutor.
Right, who receives regular updates from the agency's head regarding ongoing investigations. So that ensures a degree of judicial awareness of what they're up to. And additionally, there's the Special Services Committee within the Sejm, the Polish Parliament. They perform a really vital oversight function.
What do they look at?
Well, this committee scrutinizes the ABW's performance, they review its budget allocations, they examine its investigative activities, and they evaluate how well it's cooperating with all of Poland's other special services.
So it seems like a system designed with multiple points of accountability, executive, judicial, and legislative. That's reassuring on paper.
It is designed that way, yeah.
However, even with these measures, an agency operating with a degree of secrecy and wielding significant power, it's almost bound to face scrutiny sometimes, isn't it?
It often does, yes.
And our sources detail several controversies that have brought the ABW into the public spotlight. Let's maybe start with the aftermath of that terrible 2010 Polish Air Force crash.
Right. This was obviously a deeply tragic and incredibly sensitive event for Poland. And the allegations that emerged afterwards were, pretty significant.
What were they alleging?
Leaked memos reportedly suggested that the ABW had been conducting surveillance on President Lech Kaczynski and the First Lady during a state visit they made to Georgia back in 2008.
Wow, okay. Spying on the president.
That was the allegation.
Yeah.
And coming, in the wake of the president's death and the crash, these allegations understandably ignited considerable public debate and political tensions. Questions about the scope, the appropriateness of the ABW's intelligence gathering, especially concerning the head of state.
Yeah, I can imagine. Then we have that 2011 incident involving Robert Friess and his satirical website, antikomor.pl.
Ah, yes.
The ABW raided him based on Article 135 of the Polish Penal Code for allegedly insulting the president at the time, Bronisław Komorowski. That certainly raised some questions.
It did indeed. Questions about the boundaries of free expression and the role of security services in, policing online speech, even satirical speech. It's notable that even Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who was in office then, initially commented on the potential, let's say, vagueness in that particular penal code article.
Right.
And later publicly criticized the ABW's actions in that case as being overzealous.
Overzealous. That's quite a statement from the PM overseeing them.
It highlights that delicate balance, doesn't it, between protecting the dignity of public officials and safeguarding freedom of speech, and the potential for security agencies to be seen as maybe stepping over that line.
Another interesting case involved Marcin Idzik, the former CEO of the state-owned arms firm Bumar.
Right, back in 2013.
He alleged, according to the sources, that the ABW seemed reluctant to investigate a former Bumar sales agent for suspected fraud, even though he, Idzik, formally requested it.
Yes, and the context there was that this agent reportedly had close ties to a wealthy and politically connected businessman,
Ah,
which added another layer of intrigue, really. It fueled speculation about potential influences on the agency's investigative priorities.
and the ABW's response.
They declined to comment,
Yeah.
according to the report, which, only amplified those questions.
Right. Cases like that can definitely raise concerns about whether external factors might influence the ABW's decisions, which cases to pursue, which to maybe avoid.
Exactly. It touches on that critical issue of the agency's independence and impartiality, especially when facing potentially powerful individuals or entities.
And finally, there was that June 2014 raid on the editorial offices of W. Press magazine.
A very high-profile incident.
This was after they published private conversations of high-ranking government officials, wasn't it? Leaked tapes.
That's right, leaked recordings. And this event really ignited a fierce debate about freedom of the press and, well, the lengths the state might go to control the flow of sensitive information.
What actually happened during the raid?
Well, this was particularly significant because the ABW's actions reportedly included the use of physical force against Mobiprost's editor-in-chief, Sylwester Litkowski.
Physical force?
Yes, in an attempt to seize his laptop, apparently without a court warrant at that moment. The optics of security service personnel physically confronting a journalist in their workplace, that sent a powerful message.
Yeah, absolutely.
It raised serious concerns about potential government overreach and, the fundamental importance of protecting journalistic sources and materials in a democratic society.
So if we sort of synthesize what we've explored today, the ABW clearly stands as a central, powerful institution within Poland's national security framework.
No doubt about it.
It's tasked with this incredibly broad spectrum of responsibilities from the traditional domains like counterterrorism and espionage right through to these increasingly critical areas of economic security and cyber defense.
It covers a lot of ground.
Its structure ensures that direct line of accountability up to the highest levels of government, and that's supplemented by oversight from the judiciary and the legislature.
Yes, the mechanisms are there.
However, as these controversies we've just discussed illustrate, the inherent nature of its work operating with significant powers, often needing secrecy it can lead to tensions and public debate about the appropriate boundaries of its authority.
Exactly. And that crucial balance between national security imperatives and fundamental civil liberties.
Precisely. Examining the ABW's mandate, its operational structure, and these instances where its actions have faced public scrutiny, it gives us valuable insight into the complexities of maintaining national security within a democratic framework.
It really underscores the ongoing need for, robust oversight and a continuous public conversation about the powers we entrust to agencies like this.
Yeah. And thinking about the sheer breadth of the ABW's responsibilities and the complexities highlighted by these moments of controversy, it really makes you consider a fundamental question, doesn't it?
Which is?
In a modern democracy, how do you effectively safeguard national security without potentially impinging on the very freedoms and rights the state is actually meant to protect?
The core dilemma.
What kind of transparency is both feasible and maybe desirable for an organization whose effectiveness often relies on operating, out of public view? It's a question that invites ongoing reflection, I think, on that very delicate equilibrium between security and liberty.